Whoa, things just got real because Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, just accused Blake Lively of witness tampering and trying to destroy evidence by making Taylor Swift delete her text messages. He also claims Blake threatened Taylor.
A crushing defeat for Justin Baldoni. A judge threw out his entire $400 million countersuit against Blake, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist, and dismissed the separate $250 million defamation suit against the New York Times.
It created headlines when Baldoni's now dismissed lawsuit brought up Blake Lively's friend Taylor Swift. Swift was subpoenaed when text exchanges between Baldoni and Lively were revealed to include the name Taylor. Swift's representative says she was not involved in the movie in any way beyond licensing one song for the film.
It's a bad day to be Justin Baldoni. Yes, word just broke that a judge has dismissed his $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively and his $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times.
Said if she doesn't release a statement in support of her, then somehow Taylor Swift's private text messages will be leaked. So this goes back to the Taylor Swift subpoena that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were trying to quash, right? They're saying, don't subpoena her, she has nothing to do with this, right?
This isn't my night.
Blake took to Instagram thanking those who stood by her, adding, quote, while the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back.
You gotta stop. You have to stop this.
And at the time, you slammed Baldoni's team for bringing Taylor Swift into this. How did that impact your client?
Yeah, you know, Jake, it's no accident that they brought her into this. That they had the scenario planning document I mentioned from August of 2024.
Blake is calling this an unquestionable, like, vindication, victory. Like, she's just going that route, fucking bitch. But is this an unquestionable victory for her? Or does Justin still have a shot?
And Taylor Swift was like, what? I didn't even see It Ends With Us until like weeks after it came out. And they wrote letters to the judge basically asking him to kill the subpoena, right? And now Baldoni's team is saying not so fast. We have a source, a very reliable source, and this source is telling us that Blake Lively is trying to do some shady-ish behind the scenes.
Anytime you write something in a lawsuit, you can never get sued for defamation. And what the court is saying here is that all of the alleged defamatory statements that Lively made came from that filing. There were no other statements outside of that document.
To talk about the larger issue, which is when a bully wins. When you stand up for yourself and you get fired, you get cheated on, you get betrayed, you get gaslit, you get accused. When you fight and you lose.
Blake Lively didn't just win a round, she might have just ended the fight. Justin Baldoni's $400 million countersuit tossed out by the judge. Her emotional distress claims may be gone, but now she's the one walking away with a massive courtroom victory and the headlines to prove it. Hollywood just got a reality check. What started as a messy, behind-the-scenes dispute on the set of It Ends With Us has spiraled into one of the most dramatic legal battles in recent celebrity history. Blake Lively filed serious accusations, harassment, retaliation, reputation damage, and Baldoni hit back with a $400 million defamation countersuit. But in a stunning turn of events, a federal judge just dismissed Justin's countersuit entirely, including his $250 million claim against the New York Times. Blake's team is calling it complete vindication, and from the looks of it, they're not wrong. This isn't just a win, it's a shift in the entire narrative. And yet, even with this legal victory, the damage outside the courtroom still lingers. The emotional distress claims are gone.
You lose. What's next? There might be another move for Justin. What if there isn't for you? How do we deal with that? Where do we go from here? How do we get our head around this?
The Taylor Swift friendship? Still frozen. The Hollywood reputation game? Still very much in play. So now, we're diving into all of it. From how the drama started to the friendships burned, the press spin, and the public fallout. Because this may be a courtroom win, but the battle for public trust, that's still unfolding. It all goes back to the set of It Ends With Us, the romantic drama Blake Lively starred in and Justin Baldoni directed and co-produced. On the surface, it looked like your typical book-to-film adaptation. But behind the scenes, total chaos. According to Blake, the environment on set wasn't just tense, it was downright toxic. In December, she filed a major lawsuit accusing Justin and his company of creating a retaliatory and emotionally harmful workplace.
That allegedly she had said, whether or not Blake has the upper hand with her case based on this dismissal, not necessarily. In suing Baldoni for sexual harassment, for retaliation, she has to prove those claims.
She also claimed that Justin made repeated unwelcome advances and actively tried to derail her career when she didn't play along. Now that alone would have made headlines. But it didn't stop there. Justin fired back with a $400 million countersuit. Yes, you heard that right. Accusing Blake, her publicist, and even her husband Ryan Reynolds of orchestrating a media smear campaign. According to his side, Blake's team worked behind the scenes to paint him as the villain, using planted stories and twisted narratives to sabotage his reputation, especially after a harsh New York Times piece surfaced. From Justin's point of view, Blake wanted more control over the film. And when she didn't get it, that's when, he claims, the retaliation started, from her side. Suddenly, this wasn't just a he said, she said. It became a full-on media war, a legal battle fueled by headlines, and a chess match where each side accused the other of career sabotage.
And that's not going to be easy.
Baldoni's legal team has until June 23rd to amend their claims. Meanwhile, Blake's lawyers tell ET they will be, quote, seeking attorney's fees and punitive damages against parties who perpetrated this abusive litigation.
And the worst part? The legal drama wasn't contained to just the two of them. It started pulling in outsiders, power players, publicists, and eventually, Taylor Swift. And that move might have been the one that changed everything. Because once Taylor's name got involved, the entire case exploded into a Hollywood-level spectacle. And we're just getting to that part. This is where things went from legal drama to full-on celebrity chaos. Out of nowhere, Taylor Swift's name showed up in legal filings. Yep, that Taylor, Blake's longtime best friend, godmother to her kids, red carpet ride or die. So how did she end up in the middle of a courtroom war? Well, according to leaked court docs, Justin Baldoni's team subpoenaed Taylor Swift, basically asking her to testify or provide communications. Why? Because they claimed Blake had allegedly threatened Taylor behind the scenes, demanding that she publicly support her lawsuit, or risk having their private texts exposed.
Mentions one of the things they planned to do was to plant stories discussing the weaponization of feminism, including how people in Blake Lively's circle, specifically Taylor Swift, have been accused of weaponizing feminism to bully people. This was the plan from long before there was a lawsuit.
That's right. Allegedly, Blake wanted Taylor to go on the record and say she was on Team Blake. And when Taylor refused, things soured fast. Now, Justin's team eventually withdrew the subpoena, probably to avoid turning the case into even more of a circus. But by then, the damage was done, at least to the friendship. Reports say Taylor was blindsided, she didn't want any part of the lawsuit, and definitely didn't want her private friendship used like a legal pawn. According to Page 6 and New York Post, Taylor stopped responding to Blake's calls and texts completely. Her inner circle described it as feeling used and betrayed. Even though they haven't unfollowed each other publicly, insiders are calling it a full-on freeze-out. And the fans noticed. What used to be a friendship goals situation, vacations, Met Gala appearances, birthday parties, has gone radio silent. No mentions, no photos, no signs of reconciliation. Some fans even say this friendship breakup has been more painful than the lawsuit itself, because in the middle of all this public chaos, it's clear, something real broke behind the scenes. And in Hollywood, a fractured friendship with Taylor Swift, that's not just personal, that's PR-level fallout. All right, now let's talk about the legal chess move that set off a media firestorm. Blake Lively suddenly dropping her emotional distress claims. At first glance, it looked like she was just narrowing down her lawsuit, sticking to the core issues like workplace harassment and retaliation. Her legal team said they were streamlining the case to avoid distractions. But Justin Baldoni's lawyers weren't buying it. They came out swinging, claiming Blake was backing out of those claims because she didn't want to hand over her mental health records, things like therapy notes, evaluations, and HIPAA forms. According to Justin's team, if she was claiming emotional damage, those records were fair game. Their argument?
to bring Taylor Swift into this to accuse them both together of weaponizing feminism. So it was no surprise that they tried to bring her into this lawsuit. She has nothing to do with the claims or defenses in this case, and I don't think the court is going to allow the actual claims in this case to be distracted by this or anything else.
You can't drop the claim to dodge discovery and then try to bring it back up at trial. In a court filing, Baldoni's side said, quote, "Blake Lively can't have it both ways. Either she drops the claims with prejudice, meaning they're gone forever, or she provides the documentation." But Blake's lawyers clapped back hard. They said the emotional distress claims were always meant to be dropped, and Justin's team was spinning a PR stunt to make her look bad. According to them, this wasn't about hiding anything. It was about focusing the case on real, provable actions, not emotional fallout. So, the judge had to step in, and he made things crystal clear. He ruled that Blake wouldn't have to submit medical records for now, but here's the twist. He also wouldn't let her drop the claims without prejudice unless she follows proper court procedures. Translation: either both sides agree on how the claims get dismissed, or Blake files the paperwork the right way. If she doesn't move fast, she could lose the right to ever bring up emotional distress again in this trial. Period. The judge isn't playing around anymore. No side door strategies, no courtroom drama, just straight rules and a countdown clock. And while that part of Blake's case was trimmed, the judge's latest dismissal of Baldoni's countersuit shows the court didn't see his retaliation claims as strong enough to stand either. If there's one person tired of the drama, it's the judge. Federal Judge Louis J. Lyman has officially stepped in, and his message: enough with the legal games. After days of back and forth between Blake's and Justin's lawyers over emotional distress claims, medical records, and who's telling the press what, the judge finally slammed the gavel down with some tough love. First, he denied Justin Baldoni's request to force Blake to hand over her medical and therapy records. That's a win for Blake. But, and it's a big but, he also refused to let her drop those claims without prejudice just yet.
So in Friedman's newest letter to the judge, he's claiming that they're actually working with Taylor's team right now, and they're conferring in good faith, and that the subpoena will lead to relevant information.
Why does that matter? Because without prejudice means Blake could technically reintroduce those emotional distress claims later in the trial. The judge said, nope, you don't get to casually drop them now and bring them back when it's convenient. Instead, Judge Lyman gave the lawyers a deadline. Either both sides agreed to dismiss the claims with prejudice, meaning they're gone forever, or Blake's team has to file a proper motion to get it done the legal way. Until then, emotional distress is in legal limbo. The judge also made something else very clear. If Blake doesn't get her act together and handle this dismissal properly, she'll be barred from bringing up emotional distress at all, even as a side note during trial. No clever pivots, no last-minute surprises. Basically, the court just said, play by the rules or lose your leverage. And with discovery deadlines approaching and both sides already clashing on nearly everything, the judge's tone says it all. This case is no longer just about the accusations. It's about discipline, procedure, and keeping this trial from turning into a public circus. Next up, how this drama is playing out outside the courtroom, and why Hollywood is calling it an all-out war. This isn't just a lawsuit anymore. It's a Hollywood battlefield. On one side, you've got Blake Lively fighting to prove she was mistreated, silenced, and publicly undermined during the filming of It Ends With Us. On the other, Justin Baldoni, who says Blake hijacked the narrative, turned the press against him, and tried to erase his creative control. And neither one is backing down. Blake insists she's telling the truth about what happened on set. Her legal team says she was pushed out, disrespected, and retaliated against when she tried to speak up. She wants accountability, plain and simple.
Because the subpoena aims to obtain discovery relating to witness tampering and evidence spoliation. So this sounds to me like maybe Taylor Swift's legal team is working with Baldoni's legal team now and saying, listen, we want to be out of this. We want to get out of this as clean as possible.
But Justin's team says it's the other way around, that Blake wanted to take over the project, didn't get her way, and used her A-list power circle to control the media. From PR statements to leaks, from tabloid stories to legal filings, both sides have accused each other of playing dirty behind the scenes. And guess what? That's why this case won't settle. Deadline and other major outlets have confirmed that sources from both camps say the same thing. No chance of settlement. Not now. Not ever. Because at this point, it's not about money. It's about legacy. Blake believes Justin destroyed her reputation, Justin believes Blake destroyed his career. And in some ways, they both might be right. After all, Justin has already taken hits. His agency WME dropped him, and his Hollywood momentum has basically stalled. Meanwhile, Blake's public image is taking a beating. Once known for keeping things polished and private, she's now being painted as someone who blurred personal friendships with legal pressure. This isn't just a messy case, it's personal. And in the business of Hollywood, where perception is currency, this public unraveling could cost both of them far more than a courtroom verdict. What no one expected in all this? The ripple effect. Because this lawsuit isn't just impacting Blake and Justin, it's shaking the entire ecosystem around them. Let's start with the movie itself. It ends with us. What was supposed to be a major book-to-film success story has now become a PR liability. Fans of the novel feel torn, some blaming the production chaos, others pointing fingers at the casting, and many choosing to boycott the film entirely because of all the drama. And then there's the industry whispers. Blake Lively, once known for being drama-free and fiercely protective of her personal life, is now making headlines for leaked messages, subpoena threats, and alleged power moves. It's the kind of visibility agents usually run from. Not because she's guilty of anything, but because Hollywood hates unpredictability.
This gives me the impression that the good, reliable source that Friedman claims to have might actually be Taylor herself. I mean, it's crazy that she's even threatening Taylor to release a public statement in support. Like, it's all so twisted.
And for Justin, this lawsuit may have nuked his next 5 years. WME dropped him, studios are backing off. And even though he's pushing back hard, fighting for his name, it's clear, the stain is already there. Meanwhile, friends, reps, and collaborators on both sides are going radio silent. Because in this town, when things get messy, everyone gets nervous. This wasn't just a creative dispute, it became a cautionary tale, one that's making other actors, directors, and execs think twice before getting too close to either camp. It's no longer about who's telling the truth, it's about who's too risky to stand next to. If you scroll through the comments, headlines, or fan forums lately, one thing becomes painfully clear. The tide is turning and not in Blake's favor. At the start, there was sympathy. People believed Blake Lively was standing up for herself in a male-dominated industry. But now, it's complicated. The emotional distress withdrawal, the Taylor Swift fallout, the media leaks, all of it has cast a shadow over Blake's narrative. What once looked like a brave stand is now being dissected as potential strategy. And that's made some fans uncomfortable. Especially when it came out that a journalist admitted to misquoting Blake's publicist, specifically the assault quote that was central to Justin's defamation countersuit. That detail undercuts Justin's strongest point, but it also drags Blake's credibility into the mix, raising questions about how this story was managed behind the scenes. Then there's the silence from Taylor Swift. The lack of public support. That's loud. It's not just about legal filings anymore. It's about trust, loyalty, and the optics of turning a private friendship into a courtroom headline. And let's be real, celebrity reputations aren't built in courtrooms. They're built in the court of public opinion. Right now, a growing number of people are asking, was this all just about control?
It's also twisted. It also claims that in those communications that the Wayfair parties seek to obtain by way of subpoena, as they would evidence in an attempt to intimidate and coerce a percipient witness in this litigation.
Did Blake want more creative say and it backfired? Is Justin really the villain, or just the other side of the story? Even those who support Blake's core claims are starting to say, something's off. It's not that they don't believe she faced challenges, it's that the way it's being handled feels less like justice and more like damage control. And that shift in tone, it's becoming a bigger problem than any one motion or claim. Blake Lively just scored a major courtroom win. Judge Lyman tossed Justin Baldoni's entire $400 million countersuit and his defamation claim against the New York Times. Her legal team called it total vindication. But even with that win, public perception remains shaky. Her friendship with Taylor Swift is still strained. Her image, once spotless, has faced real scrutiny. Meanwhile, Baldoni's own fallout continues. His agency dropped him, and a key journalist retracted the quote that fueled his original claims. So yes, the legal fight might be shifting in Blake's favor, but the reputational damage? That part's still unfolding. On June 9th, a federal judge officially dismissed Baldoni's $400 million countersuit and his $250 million claim against the Times, citing a lack of legal grounds. The judge ruled Blake's statements were protected, and Baldoni's team failed to prove malicious intent from Reynolds, Sloan, or the Times. Blake's lawyers celebrated, saying they'll now seek legal fees and damages, calling the countersuit abusive litigation. Baldoni has until June 23rd to revise one small claim, but the major accusations? Gone. Blake later posted, "I've felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit. I will never stop advocating for you. This isn't just a win, it's a reset. But whether public opinion follows suit, that's the next chapter."